On the Isles of Scilly, Father Guy has made a triumphant debut at his first service on the islands, and even manages to hitch a lift to avoid the embarrassment of missing the ferry to his next service.
Off to Tresco.
Off to Tresco. See you.
Martin, the trawlerman, who's trying to breathe new life into the island's fishing industry, has had a disastrous start with his expensive new net.
How's the day's fishing, Martin?
In a word, rubbish. Yeah, not very good at all.
Meanwhile, WPC Nikki Green has to make a decision about her future on the Scillies. Does she stay, or does she go?
There's lots of nice people here, and I've made good friends here. And yeah, that's why I don't want to leave.
Way out off the Cornish coast in the Atlantic Ocean on the Isles of Scilly, Father Guy Scott is coming to the end of his whistle-stop visit. And after a nervous start, his confidence is growing by the minute.
Very good morning to you all. It's wonderful to see you in this beautiful church. Can I firstly ask, who's on holiday? Put your hands up. So am I. We begin our worship this morning by singing.
These are people Father Guy's never met before and who he knows nothing about.
Good morning, good to see you. On a holiday?
Very much so, yeah.
Yet it's clear he's managed to establish an immediate rapport with his congregation.
This is yours. Daisy. You're gorgeous. Good to see you. Good morning, good to see you.
In a community like this, first impressions are critical.
Where are you staying? Okay, good to see you. Thank you. Good to see you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Father Guy may have got off to a good start with the islanders, but those closer to him still need some convincing. With his formal duties over, he's now been joined by his wife Kate and their daughters Clary and Alice. And he's arranged for them to have an exclusive tour of the famous Tresco Abbey Gardens, Scilly's top tourist attraction.
They're all figureheads from ships that all came from wrecks from rocks around Scilly. So it shows how treacherous these waters were.
Kate still has major misgivings about uprooting the family from their home on the mainland for a new and unfamiliar life on Scilly.
And if you go along out to the right here, you get a wonderful view of the islands, and we can see St Mary's. You can probably see your new church, actually.
Guy's anxious to show her that he's made the right decision.
Up here I've got one of the rarest trees in the world. Perhaps you ought to come and bless it for us or something. How about that? I'll do that for you. Do you remember?
How big is the forest?
About 25 acres.
For now, with their brief tour of the islands over, they must return to their home in Mullion on the South Cornish coast and start getting ready for Father Guy to officially take over his post as chaplain to the Isles in the near future. But he's very aware that most of the worry and stress of such a dramatic change to their lives will fall on Kate's shoulders. Meanwhile, until Guy returns, retired priest, the Reverend Donald Marr, is holding the fort on the islands. Today, he's baptizing a slightly reluctant Charlotte Rugg, who's 1.5 years old.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son.
His relaxed and easygoing style has made him a very popular figure. Later, he pays a visit to the tiny police station to catch up with WPC Nikki Green, who's on secondment from her usual beat in inner-city Plymouth.
Hello. Morning, Nikki. Hello, mate. How's it going?
Not too bad.
What do you think of it so far?
How's Nikki gone down on the islands, do you think?
Very well indeed. She's certainly very popular with the island communities.
Did you know that, Nikki?
Possibly.
you're actually is hiding something here, isn't
But I'm not going to develop that one.
But what Donald doesn't know is that Nikki has finally made a decision about her future. Her bosses were hoping she'd consider taking on the full-time 3-year posting on the islands. But now, after weeks of agonizing, she's turned down that idea.
So has it been a difficult decision?
Yeah, I mean, it's just difficult to leave this place, really, and I think on the day I'll go, I shall be fighting back the tears, probably. I've probably got a harsh exterior, but I'm a big softie, really, and I think a lot of people don't realise that, but once they get to know me, they know that, and they know I'm probably the softest person they know.
Really? Are you still single? That's the question.
Yeah.
Has that affected your decision?
I think it's difficult here. I mean, I've met a couple of people, and they're and I've had fun.
But it's not worked out long term.
You can't, if you met somebody here, you could never expect them to leave here when it's their home, and I couldn't be expected to stay. So my life is on the mainland, and their life is here. So
that's that. You're going.
Yeah, I'm going. I've had fun. It's been nice, but it's time to move on.
Before the Scillies became fashionable as a place to go on holiday 100 years ago, many people on the islands earned a living from the sea. But over the last few generations, the industry has gone into what most assumed was a terminal decline. Now there's a new attempt to revive trawler fishing. Tonight, the boat Marauder, recently brought back into service, is heading home to port. Martin Bond and his son have just invested £2,500 in a new net and tackle to improve the boat's catches. Things get off to a pretty disastrous start.
So were the boys able to catch any fish or not?
Nope. You don't catch bugger all through there.
How's that happen?
Something nasty sticking out of the sea back. Piece of wreckage or...
Well, it was a bit sloppy coming across there.
Who knows?
Is it a big hole?
It's big enough, yeah. You could drive a bus through it anyway.
You could drive a bus through it?
Sideways, yeah. You laugh or cry, really.
Down sort of like, I don't know,
I'm fresh out of tears.
With the weather still holding and autumn and winter gales ahead, Martin and his son can't afford to waste even a day's fishing. They'll be up all night repairing the damaged net. Six hours later, and an exhausted but optimistic Martin puts to sea at first light. He's hoping that the new and much bigger net and tackle will reap dividends if he manages to hit shoals of the valuable John Dory fish, which fetch such good prices in the island restaurants. One of the sunniest summers anyone can remember is at last coming to an end. But it's not been the most successful of seasons. The island's economy relies almost completely on the holidaymakers. But over the years, visitor numbers have started to drop, thanks to a combination of cheap flights abroad and the high cost of living here. To keep ahead of the game, the islanders need to constantly find new and imaginative ways to keep attracting the holidaymakers. The trick is to come up with some novel ideas without threatening the old-fashioned charm of the place. With the season coming to an end and the pressure now off, this is the time to start thinking about plans for next year. Back out at sea in perfect conditions 2 miles north of the islands, there's some good news at last for Martin Bond. He's found the elusive John Dory he spent weeks trying to track down, and he's triumphant.
How's it going, Martin?
Very good today. Good weather. Nice bit of fish.
Plenty of John Dory?
Well, it's doing very well. We've got 33 baskets of dories there so far today. Nice basket of haddocks and cod. A few bits and pieces. It's a day's work.
How much is a John Dory worth to you? A big one?
A big one. excess of 20 quid.
What, each fish?
Yeah.
You got 3 baskets.
Yeah.
No wonder you got a smile on your face. Life isn't so bad after all.
It could be worse.
This is the life, isn't it? Out here on a calm sea.
It is on a day like this, yeah. You can't beat it.
As the weeks go by, the sun continues to beat down. The grapes on the little vineyard on St. Martin's are ready for picking much earlier than usual. And with the gradual arrival of autumn comes one of the most important events in the island's calendar. At this time each year, the farmers, fishermen, and dozens of willing hands head towards the church. On the 4 off-islands, there are no cars, so those without horses or tractors use quads or buggies to get around. This is Harvest Festival, which here is as much a celebration of food produced from the sea as from the land. On each of the islands, the Harvest Festival services are packed.
Welcome indeed, everybody. Welcome islanders and visitors to Harvest Festival on Tresco. Where else could you want to be?
The islanders are acutely aware of the importance locally produced food can be to a community like theirs.
So, 2 thank yous this harvest. First, to God, and secondly, to our farmers and fishermen.
Timed to coincide with the Harvest Festival celebrations is the launch of a brand new idea to try to encourage holidaymakers back to the islands and provide a big boost to the local economy. An idea which also revolves around the concept of food.
In a few days' time, we've got our very first ever farmers' market. And that market's going to see local meat producers, the deep-sea fishermen will be there with wet fish, the shellfish will be there, the bakery, the ice cream. Far better to eat and to give to our guests produce that belongs here, that came from here, that was grown and nurtured here.
In every corner of the 5 islands, the news of the first ever farmers' market has galvanized people into action. And for one family in particular, the stakes are high. 10 minutes by boat to the south of the main island of St. Mary's is the smallest of the Scillies, St. Agnes, which has a population of just 64 people. The farm at Troytown, the most southwesterly farm in Britain, is run by the Hicks family, who've been farming on the island for generations. The small dairy herd supplies milk to virtually the whole island. For most of his life, Tim Hicks has run the farm on his own.
Here come the next 2. Come on, Jim. Most of it is sold as straight milk around St. Agnes at the moment. And also, some goes into St. Mary's 3 times a week. Well, it happens every day.
Where's the milk go on St. Agnes?
I distribute the milk around all the houses and the self-catering lets. So yeah, I've got a delivery on the order of 50 pints a day just around St. Agnes.
This year, Tim and his wife Sue have invested everything in a new ice cream parlour to make use of the excess milk from the herd.
This is a new venture for you, isn't it?
Yes, we've always done the milk and cream and yoghurt and butter for 20 years plus, but the ice cream is a new departure this year. And this whole building is new. We've always done it from a little room in the farmhouse before now.
So all this is completely brand new?
Yes, this where we're standing now was a farm shed where the swallows roosting last year.
So you've invested a lot then in this? I mean, this is quite a gamble in a way, isn't it?
Well, we're fairly confident that local produced food is a good thing.
But when will you know this year that you know that you're onto a good thing?
if I keep going without cracking up, I think.
Early next morning, Sue Hicks and pots of her ice cream are on a launch from St Agnes to the main island of St Mary's. They've taken over the town hall for the launch of the farmers' market, and hopes are high that it could revitalise interest in home-produced food. Setting up his stall is trawlerman Martin Bond, who's now got masses of fish to sell.
John Dory there. Monkfish, ray wings, do cod and some migrant soles, lemon soles, some squid, red mullet, rock salmon.
They've never done this before, so no one has any idea what the turnout will be like. The organisers are desperately hoping that there'll be plenty of island hotel, pub and restaurant owners on the lookout for tasty, locally produced food. They believe costly imports from the mainland could drop, and everyone on the islands would be much better off.
There we go.
I now declare this local produce market officially open. Here we are.
But within just moments of the official opening, it's clear the experiment has worked. The first farmers' market has turned out to be more successful than anyone had dreamed possible.
How's it going, Martin? They're still going mad at the moment. Yeah, we can. They're queuing up here. I don't think we're going to have too much trouble shifting this little lot. This one, monkfish. Yeah.
The instant success of the market is particularly encouraging for the Hicks family and their ice cream from St Agnes.
It's very good support, so delighted that there's so much interest, and hope that bodes well for the future.
The ice cream has gone down a storm. Even better, there are lots of new orders from the local shops and pubs. Back at the farm, the ice cream keeps rolling off the production line. The future is looking good. A few days later, and there's more good news for Tim and Sue Hicks. They have a son, Sam, who is making a rare visit home with his new young family from the mainland. Like so many youngsters, Sam had to leave the islands and now works as a retail manager in Southampton. Today, he's brought with him his wife, Laura, and a new baby who they've christened Isla, in honour of the island of Sam's birth. After his brief trip to Scilly, Father Guy is back in his old parish of Mullion and the surrounding villages on the South Cornish coast, where he's a very popular figure. Although he's only been there a relatively short time, he and his wife Kate have thrown themselves into almost every aspect of village life. And they've become much loved characters. So too have their two young girls, Alice, who now helps out with church services, and little Clary.
Wave it round, Clary.
But time is slipping by, and now Father Guy must busy himself making preparations for the long-awaited move to the islands.
So you'll come and start packing on Wednesday the 27th of December and should arrive on the Isles Thursday the 4th. Thanks ever so much. Bye.
How are you feeling about the move now?
It's got to the point where I want to get on with it, really, have to say. I'm looking forward to Christmas and all that celebration here, but there's a part of me now that wants to get the move over, because that's pretty stressful.
So that's 167.
Yet even now, his wife Kate is very much in two minds about the big move to Scilly. It'll be the family's 5th home in just 8 years.
190. I've got very mixed feelings still. I should be very, very sorry to leave Mullion, because it's a very special place. We've made some really, really good friends and got very involved, and it'll be a wrench, but I believe it's right. So we'll just have to get on and do it. I'm hoping because it's Christmas, everyone will be too busy and we can just sneak off quietly. That's the plan. Whether we get away with it, I'm not quite so sure.
But we'll be fine. We'll get through it, won't we? But yes, it's going to be hectic. Hectic time.
So if we fold this up, and perhaps if you could measure that window with me.
Today, a rather special visitor is travelling out from Cornwall to see how his remotest parish is coping until Father Guy arrives. As Bishop of Truro, Bishop Bill is in charge of all the Church of England parishes in Cornwall. Aware of Guy's family worries, he's very anxious that their move to Scilly goes as smoothly as possible.
He'll be doing St Mary's, St Agnes, St Martin's. We will cover Briar and Tresco that Sunday, and then we're clearing out for 5 weeks so that we're not under his feet while he gets hold of it.
Bishop Bill wants to talk things through with Donald and his wife Margaret, who are camping out in the chaplaincy for the duration. He knows only too well the problems facing a young priest like Father Guy in such a remote and isolated parish.
If you're the Bishop of Truro, for instance, and you get fed up, you simply get in your car and drive to Exeter.
Yeah.
If you're here,
you can't do
that.
No. And we do meet people, other professionals, who come and don't stay long because it's too claustrophobic.
Yes.
You do have to wait to be accepted by the community. If you come in and immediately think that you will be accepted, then that's not necessarily so. You have to wait, and that takes time.
Yes.
It's around this time of year that a particular breed of visitor starts to arrive on the islands. These are the bird watchers, or twitchers, who come in search of rare species blown off course by the first of the autumn storms. Often birds pitch up from as far away as North America. Today, their numbers have unexpectedly been increased by 1. Keen birdwatcher Bishop Bill, never one to miss an opportunity, rarely travels without his binoculars.
How is the Scillies for bird watchers? Is it a good place?
It's a sort of a mecca, really. And, the helicopters are full of twitchers. Some of them are enormously learned.
Is it just an extraordinary coincidence that you've timed your trip to the Scillies at this particular time of year?
Well, it is actually. I mean, the ideal time would be 2 weeks' time. I mean, it's affected by weather. And if there was a gale...
An autumn storm. And I could invent a reason for coming across, the chances are I'd see something. But I don't do that. I wish I did, but I don't.
Back at Troytown Farm, Tim Hicks is giving his newly arrived son Sam an update on the dairy herd.
This girl has been in with me for about 3 years now. 2 years. The one on the other side is one I've bred at home.
Sam's long harboured a dream to return to live on Scilly. And during the last few days, he and his father have been discussing the future. With the growing potential of the farm business, there could be a permanent job here for Sam. The problem is finding somewhere to live. With an acute shortage of affordable housing and rocketing house prices, finding accommodation for young people is well nigh impossible.
We've literally looked at every building on the island and sort of thought, well, they live there, that's a let, so that's someone's income. And there's a few second homes on the island, which can be a bit frustrating to think that they're sitting empty most of the year. It's only a small island, and every extra person helps, really. So if you could have another 2 or 3 families, that's suddenly an extra sort of 10 or 15% of the population, and it's extra friends for Isla, extra people in the school.
You were brought up here, weren't you? How many of your contemporaries from school have actually managed to come back?
I suppose when I went to school on St Mary's, there were about 20, 25, and I'd say since I got back, there's only about 3 or 4 of us left.
Come back.
Yeah, on the whole, people have had to go away for A, for work, and B, to sort of be able to get anywhere to live.
So now Sam's resurrected an idea he's been planning for years, to use every penny he can scrape together to build his own cottage next to his parents' farmhouse.
Kitchen here, I'll go against that wall, and sink and that sort of thing, cupboards there, so your view will be out just to the trees, really.
But there's one big obstacle to Sam's plan.